Planting a tree. So what we're going to do now is we're going to plant a tree here in the ground in South Florida. What we have here is, I like to plant trees that aren't too big or too small. If you plant a tree that's too small, you're going to end up losing it. It's going to end up getting run over, get stepped on, get covered up in weeds. If you plant a tree that's too big, what you end up with is a tree that takes many, many years to get established. It can get blown over, you have to stake it, you have to prop it up. So it's preferable to plant a tree that's in a 2 or 3 gallon container, like this mango tree right here. You need to also make sure it's healthy and ready to go, like this one here. Now, in South Florida, we don't have good soils. So what we normally use around here when we plant trees is we use picks. The idea here is we're going to dig our hole and we're going to plant our tree directly into it. We're not going to amend the hole with anything. We're not going to add any other soil. This mango tree is going to have to live in this soil without any amendments anyway. So we don't add a lot that makes it can make problems in order for keeping the soil water. So first I'm just going to get out some of the loose soil here from the top, and now I'm down into our rock. Now I like to use a mattock because it has both sides here. You can see we have definitely found our very nice rock here, and we want to do it. Now it's an important point about not amending this soil, because if you amend things here in South Florida, you'll end up with a soil that takes up water in a differential manner. So if you put a very nice soil into a hole, you'll end up with it staying drier or wetter than its surrounding soil. The other problem is if you use augered holes, if you bring a tractor in and drill a hole through the rock, you tend to form a container for your plant, and you don't want that. You want the roots to get out. So my hole is nearly ready here. Let me just get one more piece right here. Ah, there you go. Okay, now I have my hole, and then I take my plant, I remove it from the pot. Okay, now this one here, this mango here has a taproot sticking out like this. There's no taproot that's going to be on this tree for very long. This is where South Florida is different than so many other places. We don't have a soil where our taproots can go down and reach water. So what we do actually is remove that taproot. You can also check the tree and see if it's root bound. This one is not. It's very nice. It doesn't have roots circling around the container. So we've done that. We place it in the hole, okay? Now once we get in the hole, one of the biggest problems here is planting trees too deeply, okay? If you have an augered hole, if you have a hole drilled into the rock, you can put the tree so deep that it becomes a container. I want the roots to be able to grow out of the hole and out into the surrounding area. So then I do that, I get the soil, now one of the things that people make a big mistake about here in South Florida, they say, we have no soil, trees won't grow in this, we have to do something, we have to replace it, make a better media for our trees to grow in. Absolutely not true. Most of our trees are perfectly adapted to this soil. It's a very high pH soil, but if you break it up, that's again why I like to use a pick, so you can break the rock up so the roots can get down into holes. And then I get the soil pulled away a little bit there. So I try to have it planted at essentially the same level that it was in the container, or a tiny bit higher, like maybe a 1/4 inch higher. And that allows you to mulch in and around the tree, and allows, again, for those crown roots to get out. If you plant it too deep, I would much rather plant a tree too high than too deep, anytime, because you can always get away with it being too high. But if you plant it too deep, the tree will be stunted and will never make a good growing tree here in South Florida. So you get this all cleared away like this. If you're going to mulch them, this is the time you can come in and you can mulch it. But before you do that, you need to pat the soil in a little bit to get out the air holes. Now this is also where you should come in and water this tree completely in, okay? You need to water this thing in there to get out all the air spaces, all the air pockets, so the soil settles in, have good root contact. And then once you give them a thorough watering, you should have to water this tree about every 3rd day for the first month. And then after that, hopefully the rains will take care of it. If you don't have any rain, you can then go to weekly waterings. But when you water it all the way through, thoroughly through, to allow that thing. Now obviously if it's colder, you don't have to water as often. Hotter, you might have to water a little more often than that, than once every week. Sometimes you might have to do it 2 weeks if it's really very, very hot. The only other thing I would do to this tree, first I clean that up so it looks a little better. And then I'll take my clippers and you can do your first pruning. Right there, you take off the tip. This is going to form your scaffold branches for your new tree. And there you go. Otherwise, I'll use a pick to do a little better. We got to cut, Jeff. I need a pick for this.